Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video, I'd like to discuss the way Steve Bannon, Trump's former top advisor and prominent MAGA commentator, has blasted Elon Musk with his most savage attack yet and has promised to get him out of the way before Trump's inauguration. Now, that is a hell of a boast for someone who, although backed Trump strongly for the election, doesn't appear to be within his inner circle anymore. So how exactly does Bannon plan to get rid of Musk, and so quickly? But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. So before you ask, studio is out of bounds again this week, so in the office. But anyway, it's all go, isn't it? Right now, Elon Musk is a terrible threat to multiple countries, including the UK. His unhinged campaign of disinformation on social media, as well as his threat to pump silly amounts of money into literally buying British politics, marks him as someone our government really needs to prioritise. We know that our own security services are considering him to be a potential threat to national security. So how do we deal with him? Well, one major hope is that MAGA sort of take care of Musk for us, or at least they weaken him to the point where it's easier for us to then take our own action against him. And this hope is not necessarily a long shot. Musk is completely out of control and has already picked a fight with the MAGA base. MAGA supporters are incredibly similar to Brexit supporters. It's the same ideology, different flag, largely because it comes from Russia, which is why I keep saying that Farage should not be at all surprised that he was never able to break through into MAGA America. You know, he's really tried to make it big there. Oh, I'm pals with Donald. Why aren't you loving me? It's because he's a foreigner living in a foreign land. He can never be anything other than a curiosity to the MAGA faithful, unless he decides to go and live in America at least, which, by the way, would be fine by me. Musk had more support from MAGA, you know, foreign, sure, but now an American citizen. He lives in America. He also put his money where his mouth is. He bought Twitter just to use it as a MAGA propaganda tool, as well as further bankrolling Trump's campaign. I mean, they loved it. They absolutely loved it. The Trump's base thought it was brilliant. Absolutely cheered it on, just the same way that the Reform UK lot are cheering it on right now, because he hasn't turned on them yet. But he let the side down in America when talking about the need to make it even easier to hire foreign workers. Well, the MAGA base were not happy about this. Immigrants is immigrants, right? Especially as some point out that the visa in question, the H-1B, which is described as being for highly qualified skilled workers, right? But some say it's supposedly used for even relatively unskilled workers as an excuse to pay lower salaries than would be commanded by Americans taking the same jobs. So Musk and his entire cadre of tech bros are persona non grata with a whole section of the MAGA crowd that were happy to cheer him along at one point, and now have gone, no mate, no, too far. And now Steve Bannon has decided to focus this anti-Musk sentiment himself. So he's been attacking Musk for a while, but he's just described him as an evil racist. And I did have to think, I had a little double take here, because I'm thinking, so I'm sort of reading the article and it's sporadically talking about what he said. I've not listened to what he said personally. And, you know, he's bashing Musk for being pro-immigration. And I'm thinking, surely he can't be calling Musk a racist on the basis he's pro-immigration. How does that make sense? No, he wasn't. So his justification for calling Musk a racist is the fact he's a white South African, which I'm thinking is a fairly racist justification, especially when he then went on a tirade about why are Americans letting a South African say anything about America and how he should, you know, go back where he came from. I mean, if Musk went back where he came from, he would have to crawl into Trump's rectum, not get a plane ticket to South Africa. But Bannon also said that he'd be taking Musk down and before the inauguration. Well, this seems a little unlikely. The inauguration's next week. It's like 7 days' time. And Bannon is a huge player in the MAGA organisation. But he doesn't seem to be close to Trump. He doesn't have like Trump's ear as far as I can tell. I mean, I don't know whether they contact at all, you know, it doesn't mean Bannon can't be instrumental in taking Musk down. I just don't think he's going to do it in 7 days. I mean, if he can rally the MAGA base in opposition to Musk, it could well be that Trump turns on him sooner rather than later. I think there's a lot of people think at some point the relationship between Musk and Trump is going to blow up because of their two egos colliding. But there's other practical reasons as well. I mean, I've said before, there's going to come a point. So basically, Trump was promising to make people's standard of living better. Now, he's not going to. I will point out that doesn't necessarily matter. I'm going to remind people, people sort of assume, oh, but when he, generates higher inflation or whatever with his silly trade war, or for whatever other reason, those improvements don't happen. Oh, people will see Trump for what he is, but they didn't during his first term. Remember, although he lost, Trump did lose his second election. Remember, he got a crap load of votes. He got more votes. If you take Biden's tally out of it, he got more votes than any other presidential candidate, basically, in history. And so a lot of people still voted for him, even though in those 4 years he did not bring them any improvements. So that it's not automatically the case that if people's standard of living doesn't improve, that people will turn on Trump. But there is a strong possibility that if people's standard of living gets worse, but Musk's standard of living or his wealth gets better, people could see that Bannon has definitely got something to work with there. And it could well mean that at some point Trump needs a scapegoat, and Musk could be a bloody handy scapegoat. I mean, I was asked yesterday as well about, well, does Trump need to care about the MAGA base anymore? He doesn't need to worry about elections now, does he? And I think he does for two main reasons. And you could add on a third reason, possibly being maybe at some point he tries to change the constitution to be able to run a third time, but I don't think he's going to have the power to do that. So, but there's still two reasons why he could care. The first is a cult leader. That means he needs his cult, right? In order to feed his ego, he needs to feel that his base is still with him. He's not, if they really turn against something, he'll have to sort of go along with them. Secondly, on a more practical level, you think about the next few years from Trump's point of view. What are his top priorities? Well, he wants to become a lot richer. It's why he ran in the first place. But he also wants to make sure the law can't catch up with him after his term ends, either in terms of prison or just fining the crap out of him. But there are others around him who have grand plans as well. Now, in theory, they have just 4 years to implement these plans to permanently shift the system in their favour for the long term, no matter who wins the next election. However, Republicans do not have tight control of Congress, so that's already limiting them. And if the midterms just go slightly against them, they'll have no control at all. And if the midterms go very badly for the Republicans, Trump's final 2 years will be proper miserable lame duck territory. So if Trump basically can look at it one of two ways. He either has to think, I've now only got 2 years to get done what I want to do. Well, that may well be impossible. So if he is to avoid a midterm disaster, he needs to still focus on at least one more round of elections, even if he is not personally standing. And that means, at the very least, keeping the MAGA base on side. He needs them to be his cheerleaders in the campaign. Now, if Bannon can direct anger towards Musk from that base, then Trump may have to drop him sooner rather than later. We know that Trump happily drops allies easily enough when it suits him. Steve Bannon can personally attest to that. I mean, they were as thick as thieves. Didn't take long for Trump once he was in power to get rid of him. Remember, that's, Trump's big thing. When he started the MAGA cult, his big thing was drain the swamp. It was a philosophy based on the idea that the wealthy establishment were shitting on ordinary Americans. And it was true enough. Quite how these guys thought a billionaire would be the one to deal with it is another matter. But although they see Trump as on their side, the same is not automatically true of Musk. Bannon said that Musk is only interested in his own wealth. Yes, of course. But also, this is believable to the MAGA base. See, they still don't see that Trump is of the same motivation and may never see it. Remember, Trump was saying that those H-1B visas should be easier to get years before Musk teamed up with him. But as Trump is the cult leader, his followers will warp reality, sometimes just deny reality to excuse his obvious contradictions. They're not going to do that with Musk or his tech bros. And this could be a fruitful line of attack for Bannon. I can't see him ousting Musk by next week. But, or hell of a story if he does somehow. But you can see the lines developing longer term. Every policy that would benefit Musk or the tech billionaires in general, and there'll be plenty of them, Bannon will claim that Trump is being controlled by Musk. It'll be sort of reminiscent, I suppose, of the issues around Stan Lee towards the end of his life, complaints that he was being taken advantage by those around him. Bannon will presumably argue that Musk and his posse need removing so that Trump can actually lead the government. That, you know, Trump is being sort of corralled by these people. After all, he'll say, we voted for Trump, we didn't vote for Musk. And when living standards don't improve, as I say, you know, based on Trump's first term, you know, the base doesn't necessarily turn on him. They'll just happily blame other factors. But they'll still need a factor to blame. They'll still need to be able to say, when people say, why haven't your living standards improved? Oh, it can't be Trump's fault. It's got to be someone else's fault. Bannon is going to make sure it's Musk's fault, right? You know, he will be characterised as the swamp that Trump said he'd drain. So Trump's top advisor at the start of his first term is now at war with one of his top advisors at the start of his second term. Battle of the bell ends. May they knock each other out. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the like button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.